Raised by wolves with canine DNA in his blood, having trained more than 24,000 pets, helping you and your fur babies thrive. Live in studio, it's Pet Talk Today with Will Bangura, answering your pet behavior and training questions. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host and favorite pet behavior expert, Will Bangura.
Morning, it's October 9th. Thanks for tuning in and letting us be part of your Saturday morning. I'm Will Bangura, and you're listening to Pet Talk Today here on 1100 KFNX, where we take your calls and answer your pet behavior and training questions each and every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Do you have a crazy cat, or maybe you've got an out-of-control dog that desperately needs some training and behavior help? Are you fed up with your pets just not listening? Maybe you've got a bird that's bonkers. Maybe you've got a rabbit with bad habits. Maybe you've got a temperamental turtle. It doesn't matter what the problem is. It doesn't matter what kind of pet you have. I realize that most of the time we're talking about dogs, but we do talk about other issues with other pets. That's what we do here on Pet Talk Today. So if you've got a question, if you've got a problem with your pet, give us a call. Give us a call. We'd love to talk to you live on air and help you deal with all of your pet's nuisance behaviors. If you're in Phoenix or the surrounding area, the number to call is 602-277-5369. That's 602-277-KFNX. If you're outside of Phoenix, you can call us toll free. That number is 866-536-1100. Yeah, give us a call. We would absolutely love to talk to you. So yeah, today we're going to be taking your questions. Right now we're also doing our Facebook live feed. If you are on Facebook, you can join us, do a search for the Pet Talk Today page, Facebook page, and every Saturday we do a live feed. So you can either listen and watch us on that live feed, or you can go to your AM dial at 1100 KFNX. Also, one other thing, if you have not subscribed to the Pet Talk Today podcast, please do so. Never miss an episode of the show, because we upload the recordings, and you can get onto the Pet Talk Today podcast if you've missed a show, and you can share your favorite ones with your friends. So we'll do that. Today we're going to be talking, in addition to taking your calls, we have a couple topics. We don't know if we'll get to them or not, because we never know what we're going to get as far as calls are going. But one of the things that we can talk about is problems related to the pandemic in dogs, if there are some. Maybe we'll talk about that. The other thing is how to introduce a new dog. So maybe you've got a dog and you've got a friend that got a dog, and you want to get the two dogs together. Well, how do you do that?
I think that's a great question.
Or if you have a dog at home and you decide, hey, let's get a second dog.
Right.
And you bring that new dog into the house. How do you introduce the two dogs? So, between calls or just most of the show, we can talk about those things, but we like to also, really spend our time answering questions, because that's what this show is all about. Anyway, you started talking, so let me say good morning to you.
Good morning, Will.
Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to our co-host, Jordan Marsteller.
How's it going? It's Facebook.
I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully Facebook is doing well.
Oh my goodness.
How's your week been?
This has been a pretty good week, actually. I feel pretty rejuvenated, and refreshed. Those triple R's. I
don't know how with all the hours you're working.
Yeah, no.
But anyway, we're going to be talking about how to introduce dogs. We're going to be taking your questions. If you're on Facebook and you've got a question, you can go ahead and post that in the comments section. If you're too shy to give us a call, we will look at your questions and answer those as well. But first, before we do that, it's time for Pet Talk News.
Good morning. Good morning. So today on Pet Talk News, we are talking about a woman who suffered significant burns while trying to save her dog from a hot spring at Yellowstone. So a woman suffered significant thermal burns from her shoulders to her feet while trying to save her dog who jumped into a hot spring at Yellowstone National Park on Tuesday. This 20-year-old woman from Washington was visiting the park. I apologize, I said on Tuesday. It was on Monday. She was visiting the park in Wyoming on Monday when she and her father exited their vehicle to look around, and then apparently their dog jumped out of their car and ran into the Maiden's Grave Spring near the Firehole River. The woman followed the dog into the hot spring to save it, and her father pulled her out. She was taken to the burn center at Eastern Idaho Regional Medical Center after she received some initial treatment from the park rangers and local fire officials. The dog was removed from the hot spring. However, its condition is currently unknown, and park officials are currently investigating the situation. Yellowstone officials caution visitors that the ground in hydrothermal areas is fragile and thin, while the scorching water lies just below this fragile surface. Yellowstone has more than 10,000 hydrothermal features, including geysers and hot springs that can be as hot as 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Everyone must remain on the boardwalks and the trails and exercise extreme caution around the thermal features, the park officials are saying. This woman's burn marks is the most second significant injury in Yellowstone National Park's thermal. Oh my goodness, I'm having a little bit of a trip up here. It is the second most significant injury in Yellowstone National Park this year. A 19-year-old concessions employee from Rhode Island suffered second and third degree burns near the Old Faithful geyser last month and was also taken to the burn center. In May of last year, another woman was burned after falling into a thermal feature at Yellowstone when it was closed due to the coronavirus pandemic. So, with that being said, I think that the best step here is we got to get a good recall built into our dogs. No, but seriously, that is a pretty serious situation, and my heart definitely goes out for her. Hopefully her dog's okay, and hopefully she recovers, pretty quickly. That's pretty serious that she fell into those geysers. And that her dog ran in, and sadly we don't know how that dog is doing. But yeah, I really do hope that the dog's doing alright. What do you think, Will?
Well, yeah, anytime something like that happens, our heart goes out to them as well.
But no, seriously, I think in that situation specifically, a good recall is what you need. If you want to take your dogs into public, spaces such as Yellowstone, places, the Grand Canyon, anywhere where there's significant dangers for your dog, even just off leash anywhere. Step one, have a good recall built into your dog. Have a good recall. Your dog needs to know how to come back when called. You don't want your dog running off a cliff, running into a hot geyser, running into the woods, chasing after a bunny, who knows what. But,
well, I always say that is the number one obedience command that everybody needs to have. If there's one thing that you need, if you had to pick one thing that you could train your dog to do.
Yeah.
The number one thing would be to come when called.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That exercise is something that people should be practicing with their dogs every single day. Now, that doesn't mean you spend an hour working on recalls, but to be able to not just call your dog to you.
Right.
Because, if it's quiet and calm and you got a cookie in your hand, that's not a big deal. I mean, what dog's not going to come to that?
Right.
But when you really need that recall to work for you, it's when all heck is breaking loose, when things are crazy and chaotic. You got all kinds of distractions. And what do we call distractions? They are, come on now.
Oh my goodness.
Competing motivators.
Competing motivators. I'm just blanking this morning, Will.
Competing motivators. And so our job is to learn how to be able to motivate our dogs more than the distractions in the environment.
Absolutely.
You need to be the most exciting thing in the world to your dog. If you let your dog get excited and happy and jacked up with all kinds of other things that don't involve you, I guarantee you're going to lose your dog's focus. If the dogs your dog plays with, if that's more fun for your dog than playing with you, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
It is. I'm Will Bangura, and you are listening to Pet Talk Today here on 1100 KFNX, where we take your calls and answer your pet behavior and training questions each and every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. We need to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors so we can keep the lights on. But when we come back, we'll be taking your calls and answering your pet behavior and training questions and talking about introducing new dogs. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these messages.
Everybody when they come to my door, I'll eat anything if it falls on the floor. Now I've heard the rumors, I think I better ask you. I heard I might be a dog. Won't somebody please tell me it ain't true?
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Will Bangura. Thanks for staying with us. If you are just joining us, you are listening to Pet Talk Today here on 1100 KFNX, where we take your calls and answer your pet behavior and training questions each and every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. We also are live on Facebook. You can go to Facebook, check out the Pet Talk Today Facebook page, and you can not only listen to us, but you can go ahead and watch us on video as well. Before we went to break, after break, actually, we were talking a little bit about what was going on with some of the questions on Facebook. And we've got a question from a Facebook viewer. Jordan, do you want to go ahead and talk about that?
So we received a question from Chantel Bowers on Facebook. She has 2 Chihuahuas and they're 4 years old.
Her last name spoken about. But go ahead.
Yeah.
It's published.
She has 2 Chihuahuas. They're 4 years old and they've been together since they were babies. The larger one has always been very needy. And then on April 2nd, her smaller Chihuahua Ginger became paralyzed from 2 herniated discs in her back. She now requires a lot of attention, and it seems like the bigger Chihuahua is really having a hard time and just looks miserable whenever she is trying to care for her sister. You know, her sister has to wear diapers and things like that, and so to make her feel included, she started putting diapers on the other Chihuahua as well, on the older or larger Chihuahua. Her question is, how does she make her dog, the larger Chihuahua, feel special?
Well, she said something about the larger one always had, in the beginning she said something about
the larger one has always been very needy.
Needy. So that shows you right there that, it's not just what happened to the other dog. 'Cause stuff happens in life.
Yeah.
You know, different dogs are going to respond to different stressors very differently. So this needy dog is having a really tough time. One of the things, if you've got a needy dog, they need confidence.
Right.
And so enrichment. Get online, do a Google search for canine enrichment. But basically, you want to do things that will stimulate physical and mental activity for your dog. Get your dog out. The weather is fantastic now. Now's the time to really get your dog out, exercise that dog. But, you know, one of the things you can begin to do is just like start setting up little tiny obstacle courses. This could be something very, very simple, okay? You got a little dog, you could put a box. You know, make sure it's sturdy enough, but a little box on the ground and just start helping the dog to get up on that box and get off on that box to go back and forth. You can start doing little games like putting hiding treats and having the dog go around the house and looking for these treats. But, getting the dog engaged, if the dog's just sitting there all day long in a diaper that it doesn't need, looking at its sister, okay, that, is struggling. Yeah, that's depressing. It's depressing. You know, when people are depressed, one of the things we tell them is get out and exercise. It's hard. Yeah. It's really hard because it's the last thing you want to do. However, that's one of the huge things that's going to help you. You know, the problem is we all wait to feel just right before we do it when we need to just do it to feel just right.
There we go.
It's the other way around.
Absolutely.
But anything else for her? Any thoughts besides that with her dog?
No, actually, I think that giving her some confidence, and then I think that when we're dealing with dogs that have attention-seeking behaviors, maybe running through some of the separation anxiety protocols might be a decent idea as well. To let this dog know that you are able to cope and manage things on your own.
What about
able,
what about leadership?
Absolutely, yes.
So what
leadership
can we
is
talk about
important.
leadership. So if the dog really sees you as a strong leader, their confidence goes way up.
Absolutely.
Dogs do not want to feel like you don't have their back and they have to be responsible for everything. And this dog probably feels like, hey, I got to be responsible for my sister and who knows what else. Dogs need to know that you're in charge. Now that doesn't mean that you're a jerk.
Right.
Doesn't mean that you're dominating your dog.
This is not alpha, beta, omega. This is being a benevolent, so a caring, loving, kind, but in charge.
And that's what a real alpha is.
Exactly.
Everybody thinks alpha is this big bully that just goes around and bullying dogs.
Nope. A real alpha, the reason why the pack has his back is not just because he's in charge. It's because he's kind and caring. He protects them. He has their back. And as a result, they have his.
I noticed you said he.
I did say he. I did say he.
What about the alpha female?
There could be an alpha female, and there is.
Do you know, and a lot of people don't know this, alpha male, alpha female, do you know where that originated and what it truly means?
I do not.
The breeding pair.
Huh.
The breeding pair. But we have really taken these terms and turned them into, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what you should do.
Absolutely. And then Janet, she asked,
what does Janet want to know?
She wants us to kind of go through the callback and recall training. I can give you a couple pointers and tips.
And then also she said, what about barkers? I adopted two beautiful, loved half dachshund. And, when I take them for a walk, they see any person and they bark. That's another thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to talk about the recall real quick?
Yeah, I'll talk about the recall.
What about
really
restrained
fast.
recalls? Those are
really good. Yeah, absolutely. Here's a really good one. Restrained recalls. So you and a friend, boyfriend, son, daughter, cousin, uncle, grandma, just you and another person are going to sit down on the ground about 20 feet apart from each other. And one of you is holding the dog. The other one is getting that dog's attention, like making noises. Hey, getting their attention, tapping the ground, getting a toy, getting treats, something like that. Now the person that's holding the dog, this dog's going to start getting excited and trying to get away from you. Then you let the dog go. As soon as you let the dog go, the other person says, come, or here, and then marks that behavior with a marker word, which would be like, yes, nice, wow, great, things like that. I actually just heard a new one the other day that I really like. One of my clients is using the word joy for their other dog. And I was like, I've never heard that. I like that one. So you use that marker word, and when they get to you, you give them a treat. And you turn them around and you do it again, over and over and over again. You slowly increase the distance, and you're building a restrained recall because dogs have this oppositional reflex that they inherently want to fight against. So when I'm holding them and they want to get to something and I let them go, they're going to sprint, which is teaching the dog not only to come when called, but also to come at a run, not a walk. So,
and the other thing that I would mention, especially for people that might have a brand new puppy, okay, but this is not exclusive to puppies. This could be for any dog. Capturing.
Right.
Capturing. If you don't know what capturing is, what that means is your dog offers a behavior you did not ask for, but it's a behavior that we would be training, such as the recall. But dogs and puppies, they come running to you many times throughout the day. You never asked them to come to you, but they come running to you. Maybe you were at the refrigerator and they came running, right? Or maybe you opened up a bag of Doritos and, they think it's their treat bag and they come running to you. Well, anytime they come running to you, you can capture that behavior as a recall. And you can label it. So as they come running to you, you go here or come. And then when they get you can mark and reward them. And you can do that over and over.
Yeah.
And start making that association so they understand that, hey, moving into you and the word here or the word come mean the same thing.
Absolutely.
And when I do that, I get a reward. And so you can capture that, and that just gives you more opportunities to be able to make that association and strengthen that recall with them. But then, the biggest thing is you have got to, once you've got them coming in where there's little to no distractions, you've got to create insane amounts of distractions. Make sure you've got a long line on the dog.
Yes.
15, 20,
Yes.
30-foot leash. Don't try to do this without a leash, because if your dog does not come into you, you need to have a way to make it happen. And when you make it happen, you're going to give a tug on that line. You are going to start running backwards away from your dog. A moving target is a target they're more interested in getting to. So you start running backwards. Make sure when you practice this, you've got a line on your dog. That's really, really important. People try to do these things off leash, and yeah, they're lucky. If it works once or twice, they're lucky, but there's many times the dog's going to get distracted and the dog's not going to do it, and you lose, and you don't want to lose. You want to make sure that you set yourself up to win each and every time. I'm Will Bangura, and you're listening to Pet Talk Today here on 1100 KFNX, where we take your calls and answer your pet behavior and training questions each and every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. We need to take a quick break. We've got to go to news, but when we come back after news, we'll be taking more of your calls and talking about how to introduce two new dogs to each other. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Would you like to go on walkies? Squirrel. Sit.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Will Bangura.
And I'm Jordan Marsteller.
And you're listening to Pet Talk Today here on 1100 KFNX, where we take your calls and answer your pet behavior and training questions each and every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. We also do a Facebook live feed. You can go to the Pet Talk Today Facebook page and not only listen to us, but you can see what's going on, and you can get a little bit of an idea of what happens behind the scenes when we're not at commercial break, when we are not at the news. We're talking to the folks on Facebook. Do you have a crazy cat or a dog that's out of control? Are you fed up with your pets just not listening? Maybe you got a problem with your dog pulling you down the street. Maybe you got dogs that are fighting. Maybe you got a cat that's spraying everywhere and not using the litter box. Doesn't matter what kind of pet you have. Doesn't matter what kind of problem you have. That's what we do here at Pet Talk Today. If you've got a question and you would like some help finally putting an end to these nuisance behaviors, give us a call. If you're in Phoenix or the surrounding area, the number to call is 602-277-5369. That's 602-277-KFNX. If you're outside of Phoenix, you can call toll free at 866-536-1100. Also, we have a podcast, the Pet Talk Today podcast, where we take the radio show and we record each show and we upload those to our podcast, so you don't ever have to miss an issue. You can go to any one of the podcast hosting platforms, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you name it. We are on all of those platforms. You can do a search for Pet Talk Today. Before we went to the news, we were answering some questions from Facebook. But when we started the show today, I said, one of the things that I think would be interesting to talk about would be how to introduce two dogs that have never met. And that could be in two different ways. It could be I am an owner of a single dog household, and I know somebody who has a dog, and we want to get our dogs together. That's one scenario. The other scenario is I've got a single dog at my home, and I decide, okay, I'm either going to get another rescue dog, or I'm going to buy a puppy from a breeder, but I'm going to bring a second dog into the home. How do you handle that?
Absolutely.
And let's just add a little caveat to that. How do you handle that if you've got maybe a dog that's a little nervous, maybe a little shy, maybe even a tiny bit reactive from fear?
Absolutely.
That happens a lot. So what are some of the things that we don't want to do?
I was actually just about to say, I want to talk about some of the things that I see people do
that
all the time,
or
they talk about all the time. For example, a big one.
Yeah.
A big one, and a lot of people don't realize that this actually is not a good idea, is people go, oh, dogs say hello by sniffing each other's butts. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take my dog, and I'm going to walk him into the room, and I'm going to have the other person turn their dog around and hold them there so that the other dog can come up behind and sniff this other dog's butt.
Are you serious?
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Yes, I have. So much. They hold their dog and let the other dog sniff their dog's butt, thinking this is how they say hello.
Now imagine if, no, I won't even go.
Yeah, right.
just keep going. Forget I said anything.
And, that's terrible. That's a terrible idea. Yes, there are lots of hormones and pheromones that dogs release from their anal glands. Absolutely.
And they're checking status.
Exactly. Precisely. They're checking to see if, is this animal intact? Is it male or female? Lots of other things. But you can't force that.
What's its bank account?
Right.
How many bones does it have?
Yes. He's definitely pro bono. Yeah. But, seriously though, like I've seen so many dogs that are absolutely fine if I approach them from the front and I'm petting them from the front, but the second I reach behind them,
sure.
Woo, they will rip your face off. And that's the same for another dog. Do not hold your dog and allow another dog to come up behind them. That they are completely out of control of that situation. That is how you get bit. That is how another dog gets bit. That is anxiety. That is asking for anxiety from your dog.
One of the things that I always tell people is that when you're introducing two dogs, you don't just allow them to come into their personal space.
Yeah, like the exact opposite. You can't just have them come on.
Well, here's the thing. We don't always assume that there's going to be a fight and it's not going to work out. And you need to, when you're introducing two dogs, assume the worst. And why do I say to do that? Because I'm overly cautious, and I don't want a dog fight to screw up your dog. And it can screw up your dog for the rest of its life. It takes one sometimes, and it imprints on their nervous system. So one of the first things that you want to do, and they need to be on leash, people, you get the dogs and you bring them together and you stop short of them being able to have contact. Now, where you stop short, is it 2 feet from each other, 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet? You are better off starting off at a further distance. And when your dog sees the other dog, if your dog seems to be in a good place, go ahead and mark and reward your dog for good behavior.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that you want to do is then you bring them a little bit closer and turn them away. Yeah, turn them away.
Relieve that pressure.
And then bring them back together, not completely. You can go a little bit closer and then turn them away. And then turn back towards each other and bring them even a little bit closer. They still haven't connected, and turn them away. So as you're getting closer and closer, you're getting a read for each dog's response to the other dog being there. You can take a look at their body language. Okay? Obviously, if you're seeing signs of aggression, get out of there. Get out of there. You're not gonna, don't have your dog meet another dog that's showing signs of aggression. Why would you do that?
Right. And additionally, I think it should be noted that when we say that you're getting closer and closer, we don't mean head on either. Head on interactions between dogs, face to face, direct eye contact in canine body language is extremely intense. It doesn't necessarily mean aggression, but what it does mean is whatever follows is amplified. Anything that comes after. So if right after direct eye contact your dog starts growling, yeah, he's like, no, I am not okay with this dog. If directly after direct eye contact your dog starts displaying calming signals, then you know that it's probably safe bet that this dog is okay with this other dog. But you don't want to risk it. You don't want them coming head on, face to face, because dogs, they start getting restrained and they're excited to get there, and one of the dogs is going to start pulling to the end of the leash and, front paws are going to come off the ground, and that looks like an attack. This other dog may perceive that as an attack. And as a result, what could have been a wonderful situation might have just been ruined by improperly read body language. So when you're coming closer and closer, you want to make it parallel. And you're walking back and forth, getting closer and closer. And then when you turn around, you just walk away.
They're facing sideways parallel,
Right.
and they're moving back and forth.
Right.
In a straight line, like going 20 feet one direction,
Exactly.
then doing a U-turn, going 20 feet the other direction. They're side by side, and little by little they're getting closer and closer.
Absolutely.
We're watching the reaction of the dogs. If there is a reactive situation, we're going to take them further apart.
Absolutely.
Now, the other thing, I know this blows people's minds. You don't have to introduce them that day.
Nope.
You can just get them close to each other, in close proximity, and start doing some obedience work and trying to see if you can keep your own dog focused and give them rewards. And then as they're exposed to the other dog, if they don't see that other dog being reactive, if that other dog is calm and relaxed, and that dog is calm and relaxed, that becomes their experience. And you can do that over a day, 2, 3. There's no rule that says you have to have them connect that first day.
Right.
And a lot of times you're going to be better off if you don't. Because here's the thing. I will never let my dog meet another dog that's excitable. If that other dog's not calm, my dog will not get to meet them. If my dog's not calm, their dog will not get to meet my dog. I do not want excitable greetings, because that can be misread quickly. You know, you've got a dog that might be a little bit nervous, and all of a sudden you got a dog that's stiff and moves really fast.
Yep.
Because it's not relaxed yet, and that fast movement might set off the other dog, and then all of a sudden there's a growl, and then that growl sets off the other dog, and then the next thing you know, the other dog's growling, and then boom! Maybe we've got a fight.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that chain of events can occur in mere moments.
Oh, we're talking less than a second.
Yeah.
Less than a second. That definitely can happen.
So very fast. And it's strangely enough, I've been in a lot of high intense situations. I've been in a lot of, adrenaline pumping moments. And typically speaking, and everybody's experienced this, time kind of slows down,
Yeah.
But when it comes to dogs fighting, it happens so fast.
Oh, absolutely.
Every time.
Absolutely. Hey, we've got to go take a break.
Absolutely.
We've got to hear from our sponsors so we can keep the lights on and pay the bills. I'm your host, Will Bangura.
And I'm Jordan Marsteller.
And you're listening to Pet Talk Today here on 1100 KFNX, where we take your calls and answer your pet behavior and training questions each and every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. When we come back, we're going to be talking more about how to introduce dogs that don't know each other to each other. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Will Bangura.
And I'm Jordan Marsteller.
And you're listening to Pet Talk Today here on 1100 KFNX, where we take your calls and answer your pet behavior and training questions each and every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. If you've got a question about your dog, maybe you are just fed up with a behavior that has been going on forever, and you just can't seem to get your dog to stop. Maybe you feel like your dog's the most stubborn dog in the world. It just doesn't listen. Hey, we want to talk to you. Give us a call. If you're in Phoenix or the surrounding area, that number to call is 602-277-5369. That's 602-277-KFNX. If you're outside of Phoenix, you can call us toll free. That number is 866-536-1100. Give us a call. If you're on Facebook, watching us on our Pet Talk Today Facebook page, we've got our Facebook Live going on right now. Feel free, if you've got a question, you can call. Don't be shy, you can call. Or if you are a little shy, go ahead and type your question in the comments, and we will try to get to that. Before we went to break, we were talking about the do's and don'ts of introducing two dogs that have never met before. One of the things we talked about was making sure they're on leash.
Yep.
One of the things we talked about was that you don't actually initially want them to connect. So we don't get them so close that they can have contact. We start at a distance. We are starting parallel. We're not facing them directly. We're sideways facing both dogs at a distance. And we just start moving them back and forth, walking them or heeling them back and forth. And little by little, they get closer and closer and closer and closer, so they close that gap. While that's happening, you are watching the demeanor of your dog. You're watching the demeanor of that other dog. If you start seeing stress signals.
Now, that's what I was going to ask, actually. I was actually going to ask that, was what should they be looking for?
Right. So one of the things, obviously, there's some big signs. A dog growling.
Yeah.
A dog barking, showing its teeth.
Right.
A dog drooling, who's having a major panic attack, okay? Your dog's ears might be pinned back, okay? Your dog's tail might be straight up and having these little teeny short little wags, okay? That's not a good wag. Nope. And your dog's tail could be down and tucked. Okay. Your dog could be doing what's called whale eye, where the eyes are huge and you're seeing the whites of the eyes. Now that means the dog's about ready to bite the dog. Now, there are some other signs. For example, when your dog meets a new dog, usually they're excited. And that means that their heart rate has increased. That means that their respiration has increased. So that dog should be panting. You got a dog in a situation like that, mouth is closed. You're looking at their belly. They got these short, shallow breaths. That is a very, very stressed out dog. There's some other subtle things, real subtle stress signals that are much more difficult to see. Jordan, you want to go through a couple of those?
Yeah, absolutely.
These are tough to see, though.
No, some of these really, really small little things. One thing that, especially if you're standing still, this is one that you're going to be able to notice. Watch your dog's eyes. Because above their eyes, you're going to see this tension around their eyeballs. If you're seeing that tension where the muscles literally around their eye socket are nice and tight and taut, like if they just look flexed almost as if they're scrunching their forehead, yeah, that's not a good sign either. That is not a good sign. Now, there are some subtle things that you can be looking for that are good. Another one, real quick, before we move off of stress signals, maybe the hair on the back. Along their spine, if that is raised. That's a pretty common one that most people know.
Piloerection.
Yes.
Is the technical term for that.
Now, another thing, look at your dog's body posturing, right? A dog whose arms are in front of their shoulders. So, the best way to explain it, it's really hard to kind of paint that picture, but if their arms are in front of their shoulders.
Bowing down.
They're bowing down.
So the front is lower than their back.
That is good. That is a happy play bow.
If the feet, their paws, are in front of the line. So if you draw a line from the shoulders down, the dog's kind of bowing down, and the front paws are in front of the shoulder. That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. But if it's the other way where it looks like they're moving forward, like their body, their energy says, it's like their energy is forward. So if you draw that straight line from the shoulders to the ground, but the paws are behind it, that is a dog that is posturing up and showing its chest. This is a dog that is saying, yeah, I want to get to you, but it's not in a way that I'm saying, hey, look at me. Let's play. This is a dog that's saying, look at me. Look how big I am. See my big chest? See all the power that I have? I'm ready to push off and take off. Whereas a play bow, I'm ready to go the other direction, to run around and play. Now, some of the other small things that you can look at. Yawns. A yawn is a appeasement sign, also known as a calming signal. This is a dog that is saying, I am not a threat. This, depending on the context, could also be taken as a stress signal. It could be. But typically speaking, if your dog is yawning at another dog, he's trying to say, I'm not going to attack you. But he might be kind of scared, and that's why he's yawning. Appeasement signals, they are very context specific. Now, another very subtle sign that you can be looking for. If, as your dogs look at each other, one of the dogs looks away, it's very, very quick. They're going to look the other direction, the opposite way from your dog. That's called a look away. That is also a calming signal. A look away is a way that a dog says, hey, I don't want to lock eyes with you. I don't want to threaten you. I am not a threat to you. Let's be friends. Typically speaking, a look away is going to be a give and receive signal, okay? So one dog will do it, and then hopefully the other dog's going to do it back. And now, I tend to mix these two up sometimes, so I'm going to let you talk about these two. Mm-hmm. The lip licking versus tongue flicks. I mix those two up quite often by mistake.
Well, here's the problem, though. You've got some experts that are calling those calming signals, and you've got some experts calling those stress signals.
Exactly. That's what's very confusing about that.
I call those stress signals. I do not call those calming signals. Now, interestingly enough, and gosh, this is a whole nother topic. We got to research this, but there's somebody out there. I just recently read an article, and they said, should we be calling these stress signals and calming signals? Interesting, because he's got a different take on it, and you know, we'll talk more about that. I call those stress signals. Right. Personally, the way I look at it, the way I see it in the context, they look more like stress signals to me.
They really do, and if I look at the context of when it happens, it does seem like a stress signal. For example, there was my dog actually, my home dog Harley. Yeah. She has anxiety. She is on Prozac, believe it or not. Another topic for a different day. But she does have anxiety. And one day, after, she had, been put up into her kennel, right? So she also has separation anxiety, so she was a little stressed out. But we've been working through it. I let her out of her kennel when I got home. And every time that I pet her, every single time that my hand went onto her head, boop, tongue flick. Tongue flick. Every time that I pet her.
See, here's the thing. If you did that, and afterwards, when you were done, she gave a tongue flick.
Right.
In that context, I would say, okay, it's a
calming signal. But she was freaked out by the hand reaching towards her.
Exactly. And so, I don't know. I'd love to be able to talk to some of these behaviorists that are calling those things, calming signals.
Right.
Because I don't buy it. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. That is a stress signal. Hey, we've got a question from one of our Facebook viewers, and that's from Mary. And Mary's asking, how do you keep your cat off the table?
Ooh, I've got a couple ways you can fix that. One, you can take some double-sided tape.
Yeah.
Put that double-sided tape all around on the table. They're going to step on that. They're not going to like that. Another option, tinfoil. Basically sticky, loud, slippery type things that can be on the table. The cats are not going to enjoy stepping on these things.
Exactly. And then what you can do, you know, you start off with a lot of that double-sided tape, or you start off with a lot of aluminum foil, and then over time, I'm talking over a week's time, take a little bit of the tape off, and then a week later take a little more tape off, and a week later a little more. Same thing with aluminum foil. Have a lot on the table. Then make it a smaller piece of aluminum foil in a week, and then a week later make it smaller. If your cat is staying off the table, okay? Then, of course, there's the good old water sprayer.
Yep.
Okay? Basically, if you want to stop a behavior that you don't like, something unpleasant needs to happen. Now that something unpleasant should be tempered for each pet's individual temperament. We don't want to do anything that's going to cause fear. That's a no-no. We don't want to do anything that's going to cause pain. That's a no-no. We don't want to do anything that's going to cause intimidation. That's a no-no. But animals learn by consequences.
Absolutely.
We are out of time. It's been another great show. Thanks everybody for tuning in today at Pet Talk Today. We will be back next Saturday. If you've got a particular topic that you would like us to cover, you can send us an email. That email to info@pettalktoday.com. That's info@pettalktoday. We'd love to hear your suggestions for topics. And if we like your suggestion, then we'll go ahead and use your topic into one of our shows. Brittany's off today. I didn't say anything about Brittany. Brittany, I hope you're having a great weekend. I think she's going to California to visit her mother. But we'll be back next Saturday. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend, everybody.
The information and opinions you hear on this radio show are those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of KFNX, its affiliates, management, or advertisers.